What's up YouTube? My name is Felpel. Welcome to my channel, and today I am tackling a very controversial and heated question. Is the MicroKorg really that bad? Is this little synthesizer the worst synthesizer in all of music history? Before we get into this, let me state first where I'm coming from on this. I've owned a MicroKorg for 8 years. I've owned one since I was a freshman in high school. At the time, I was getting heavily into electronic music. I really wanted to get serious with it. I wanted my own hardware gear. I ended up not really using it until about several months ago. I got it, kind of worked with the presets for a while, ended up only using it as a MIDI controller. And then after getting to a computer music class where I was relearning about synthesis and what each waveform and modulation does to the sound, I started working with it into the MicroKorg and realized you can actually get some pretty decent and quite good sounds out of it. Either way, there's a lot of people who really
hate this thing.
So for better or worse, I'm kind of making this video to go through the cons of the MicroKorg, why people are complaining, and then finally getting into objectively what is the sales like, who's using it, and subjectively where do I find myself with at the end of the day after having used this thing. So first of all, there's a lot of plastic parts. It kind of feels a little flimsy, which I don't like, especially the back here. Maybe it's because I've had mine for 8 years, so maybe I've worn it out more. You can definitely tell that I've used it with some scruff in some places, especially on the wood. The keys really don't feel the best. I don't even really care for the plastic pitch wheel and the modulation wheel. So the build quality on this, in contrary to what Korg is really known for, it's really not the best. Secondly, the colors on this thing. I joked in one of my tutorials that the colors on this remind me of the car from National Lampoon's Vacation. And I know that they mean to really give a retro vibe with this, hence why they put the wood on the sides and why they have this olive green color, kind of make it look a little bit like a mini Moog, but it's laughable. And I'm not saying it to say that I don't like it. I like the retro look of it, but it's not my favorite. It's not aesthetically a pleasing synth. Thirdly, you have these mini keys. Everyone complains about this. In reviews, if you look up 2 or 3 stars, even 1 stars, everyone says how the keys are very toy-like. And for sure, if you're a real keyboard player, it's not going to feel great. But of course, if you're going to make a MicroKorg and you're making everything to a small form factor, then you've got to have mini keys in it. And apparently Korg is not going to stop with that anytime soon. As I've noticed, the mini log and the mono logs that they put out, they have smaller keys. They're a little bigger than this, but not by much. Even the MS-20 mini reissue that they put out, those have mini keys on it. If you're a real keyboard player, you're going to be mad about it. And the very last thing, which almost everybody hates, including me, is the edit select. Now, I realize that when Korg did this, they were trying to find the best way to put all of these features into a mini synth, and this was the way they came up with it. But it is annoying that you have to flip through every setting here and look at this little teeny tiny panel to see where you want to work with stuff. And that's part of the reason why I edit a lot of my videos and tutorials when I go through editing the patches, and even when I put up the little screen, I usually just fly through it so fast because it annoys me to just go through here and show painstakingly every single little thing. And the further thing that needs to be said is that some of the presets that you get in this thing are a little cheesy, are a little outdated, try to sound kind of retro, but they sound like copies, and they sometimes sound like really bad copies. Although I will say the retro bass setting on A63 is so good, I continue to use it. Other than that preset, not a fan of the rest of it. Having said all this, however, there are some articles, if you look on the internet. There's one that I'm thinking of at the top of my head from Noisy, which talks about the instruments that every indie band uses and how he hates all of them. Maybe it was a joke article, maybe it was real. Either way, it's out there for you to enjoy. And at the very top, it says about how the MicroKorg just sucks. Nevertheless, is this really that bad. Not when you look at what is being said about it. If you check Amazon and Guitar Center, Musician's Friend, Sweetwater, a lot of the music sites, whether here in the US or the UK, you're going to see a lot of 4 and 5 star reviews. There's some sites like Amazon where you have like 90 some reviews, gets a 4 out of 5 rating, a lot of 5 and 4 star reviews, some 3, very few 2s and 1s. You even have this one site from the UK that I saw, I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, it's either Thoman or Tommen Music, where they had like 200 some reviews of the thing, and it had somewhere between a 4.5 to a 5 star rating. So needless to say, everyone who's reviewing it, whether they're giving it good or bad reviews, it still averages out to between a 4 to 5 star rating. I've not seen yet a website that posts anything underneath a 4. If you look at the amount of bands who use the MicroKorg, you're going to see some fairly familiar names. If you're into dance music, you're going to see Justice, Soulwax, and The Prodigy up on that list. If you're into indie dance, you're going to see Crystal Castles or even LCD Sound System on that list. But there's 2 bands or musicians that really perk my ears. The alternative rock band The Killers. Brandon Flowers uses that MicroKorg on stage at all of their shows. And the other name, which if you're really into electronic music, this should shock you, is the fact that Jean-Michel Jarre, hoping I pronounce his name right, uses the MicroKorg. For those of you who know electronic music history, you would know that Jarre is a giant in electronic music. He is a pioneer. I'm saying all of this not to say that, that these acts love the MicroKorg and they use it all the time. Maybe they used it at some point in their career. Either way, they're on the list. They're said to have used this thing. On top of all this, the fact that continues to be given, even though everyone says it, and yet I've not seen the data for this. I've not seen the sales numbers. But it appears to me that the MicroKorg is the best-selling synthesizer of all time. We're not talking the most iconic, we're talking best-selling. It's sold more than Moog, more than Yamaha, you name it. Mind you, I'm not saying all of this to tear down all these people who are saying it's so bad. They may have genuine reasons as to why they think it's so bad. I'm just stating that if it really is that bad, all this data should be shown. And yet that's not the case at all. Now, subjectively, here's my take on it. I have used other synthesizers than just the MicroKorg, both software and hardware. I've used a Yamaha DX7. I've used a Dave Smith Mofo. I've used a Eurorack modular rig, which easily, if you were to buy the same rig that I used, it would cost over $3,000. And on top of this, I have used an EMS Synth. Those of you who really know your synthesizer should know that that is the first commercially available synthesizer that was ever released on the market. In spite of all the cons that I have with this synth, I love the sounds that I can get out of it. I love the sounds that I can program with it. The vocoder, even though it's only 8 bands and it is a little cheap, it is a lot of fun to use. I do like the fact that you have battery power on the thing and can use it portably anywhere. For me, as plastic and as shoddy as that thing is, it's always turned on. I've never had any issues with it in the 8 years that I've used it. I've handled it well, I've taken care of it well, and it's done exactly what I need it to do. I'm not saying this to say that the MicroKorg is the best synth ever and that you should totally get one. There are, at this time, analog synths and other synthesizers that you can get that are way cheaper and more feature-packed, perhaps. It's not a perfect synth, and at the end of the day, I think it depends on what you as an artist want to use this MicroKorg for. But what do you think? Do you love the MicroKorg? Do you hate it? Are there better synths that you're using that are in the same price range or even lower? Let me know. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and share this if you found this to be helpful. Until then, I'll see you next time in the next video.